Alrighty, we're talking. Let's wait till this starts here. Shirt. This was passed down to me by a friend of a friend, and my oldest stepdaughter is 16 in a few days, so I thought it was cute here. Ian's lovely daughter. But yes, we have a lot of birthdays this September. A lot of my family members. I had a cousin. Cousin had just turned some age. Probably like 23, if I had to guess. I'm terrible with this. But yes, lots of family members' birthdays, lots of friends' birthdays in September. So shout out. And it's my birthday coming up. But yes. Whew. I digress. Let's talk about Jesus calling his disciples, and then I'll read the quote, but something relevant. Ian's reading the Quran, as you may have known. He's reading the Quran, and he's like, it's amazing how much Jesus talked to other people, and he went to all these different towns, talked to groups of hundreds of people, preached the word, and it was really only about 12 people that kind of stuck around and really decided to serve him in that time. Of course, yes, he had called these people, and he had, asked him, but he, of course, called many people. He talked to many different people one-on-one, to suss out, if you will, excuse my colloquials, to see, who would be a viable candidate to go on this journey with him. So he was just surprised. He was like, wow, I can't believe out of all those people, just such a small group. But it's kind of like how we live our lives and how we choose our friends. Might have a few people, over on this side. Might have a few people over on this side. Might have a few people over there. We have a friend group here that we pick throughout our life and our life's journey. So Jesus calls the disciples in this time around. And I'm going to read a quote, which is, we can see how it relates. I have a theory here, but it's an old Scottish motto for a house. I don't even know when it says the date. Something about, I think, 1901. Be happy while you're living, for you're a long time dead. Interesting. I'm trying to do the Scottish accent, but it's actually spelled out like this. Be happy while you're living, for you're a long time dead. That is not Scottish, but my bad. So this is interesting. I feel like what I talked about before, how it's very important to recognize your purpose here on this earth. Everybody has their mission, and outside of this life, you are active in other places, right? You have a spiritual body, and you're, most of the time, like what this quote is saying, you're really dead. What does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to be dead? Being alive means you're present here now, and otherwise you're somewhere else. You're in the other realms, you're in the heavenly realms, the spiritual realms, whatever they may be, wherever they may be. But that's something, I guess, for a little bit later. We're going to go ahead and talk about this other stuff and what it means to be living, what it means to be a disciple, what your purpose is, and how that came to be from the Bible's perspective. So, let's go on to Luke chapter 5, verses 1 through 11. One day, as Jesus was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, the people were crowding around him and listening to the word of God. He saw them at the water's edge, 2 boats, left there by the fishermen, who were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little from the shore. He sat down and taught the people from the boat. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water, and let down your nets for a catch." Simon answered, "Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I will let down the nets." When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them. So they came and filled both boats so full that they began to sink. When Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, "Go away from me, Lord, I am a sinful man." For he and all his companions were astonished at the catch of fish they had taken, and so were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, Simon's partners. Then Jesus said to Simon, "Don't be afraid. From now on, you will fish for people." So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything, and followed him. Let me finish this last part. On those days, Jesus went out to a mountainside to pray. He spent the night praying to God. When the morning came, he called his disciples to him and chose 12 of them, whom he also designated apostles. Simon, who is named Peter, his brother Andrew, James, John, Philip, Bartholomew, called the Zealot, and Judas the son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who became a traitor. Okay, so I kind of mushed all that together, but his brother was just Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, just Andrew. But yes, so there we have the disciples. So it looks like there was a little bit of mutual decision here. So Jesus, of course, called these people, but it was also their decision to go ahead and really drop everything and be like, okay, yes, like I'm here. I think that fish, I feel like the catch of fish definitely was a good indicator of like, oh wow, okay, I could actually, take some time off after this catch. But nonetheless, they did revere that moment, and they did revere him in general, or else they wouldn't have let him come onto the boat to preach. So they were very respectful of Jesus. They were aware. They're like, wow, you're awesome. And Jesus recognized that in them. He recognized that they would be trustworthy. Most of them trustworthy. They really all were very, very trustworthy people. Of course, when stress and pressure comes down to the wire, right? Of course, there can be some decision making and things like that. But of course, we know Jesus is very compassionate and understanding. So really, they were all great, dedicated people. And I think something that we fail to recognize is, yes, they were fishermen, yes, they, lived different lifestyles, but Jesus saw a lot of himself in this group of people. How we, pick friends, they may be like us in different ways. That's exactly what Jesus thought too. He's like, wow, I can actually see myself, the type of lifestyle that they live, all of that. He probably saw some reflections. So he wanted to be a part of that, and the disciples said, I want to be a part of what you have. So it was a great harmonious relationship. Yeah, so let's go on to John chapter 1, verses 35 through 51. The next day, John was there again with 2 of his disciples. When he saw Jesus passing by, he said, "Look, the Lamb of God." When the 2 disciples heard him say this, they followed Jesus. Turning around, Jesus saw them following and asked, "What do you want?" They said, "Rabbi," which means teacher, "where are you staying?" "Come," he replied, "and you will see." So they went and saw where he was staying, and they spent the day with him. It was about 4 p.m. 4 p.m. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the 2 who heard that John had said who had followed Jesus. The first thing Andrew did was to find his brother Simon and tell him, "We have found the Messiah, that is Christ." And he brought him to Jesus. And he brought him to Jesus. Jesus looked at him and said, "You are Simon, son of John. You will be called Cephas," which is translated to Peter. Okay, and I just want to put a little side note in here. Where we started was Luke 5. So this was the first part was a little bit later in the story. Now we're going back to John 1. So this is really one of the introductions, right? So initially they saw him and they knew exactly who he was, which was bonus points, right? Let's see here. Brought him to Jesus. Okay, the next day Jesus decided to leave for Galilee, finding Philip. He said to him, "Follow me." Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. Philip found Nathanael and told him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Nazareth? Can anything good come from there? Nathanael asked. Come and see, said Philip. When Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, he said of him, Here truly is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit. How do you know me? Nathanael asked. Jesus answered, I saw you while you were still under the fig tree, under the fig tree, before Philip called you. Then Nathanael declared, Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. Then Jesus said, You believe because I told you I saw you under the fig tree. You will see greater things than that. He then added, Very truly I tell you, you will see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. Great, that is it, you guys. I told you these little things are a little bit shorter. I may do something later. I just actually didn't finish the next transcription. It's a bit, this next one's a bit long. Anyways, okay, so we have a little bit of a narrative of how it started, just glances, right? You're following me, literally, so why don't you come here and help out? You guys, what's going on, you guys? Come on, let's do this. That sort of thing. It's like, I'm gonna show you some cool stuff. Like, I gotta show you. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna do cool things. We're gonna go all over. It's gonna be great. We're gonna be the best of friends. Jesus calls his disciples. So it's always a nice little reflection here on how this group came together. But yeah, this is it. This is all I have to say about this, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your Sunday. Do some relaxation and some whatever you do on Sundays. Relaxation, I guess. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.